Hello, lovely humans. Jen Foxbot here. Let's talk about social media. The vast majority of us use it, and I also feel like the vast majority of us have pretty bad experiences with it almost all of the time. So I want to share some of the guidelines and boundaries that I have set for myself to preserve my mental well-being. I'm hoping that these will be helpful for you to learn from and maybe implement your own. You're welcome to steal mine. I found that they're very effective when I follow them. But also, maybe you have different reasons for using social media than myself, and that's totally fine. But I also think that it's really important for us to have these conversations around how and why we're using social media. For me, I use it because I want to teach people things. I get really excited about science and knowledge and learning in general, and I love sharing that with folks. I also love learning from other people. I love hearing people's stories and being able to connect with a lot of friends at once and to meet new people. Yay! So for myself, to get the best outcomes that I can from social media while maintaining my mental well-being, I found 4 guidelines to be helpful. I'll go through them quickly and then I'll go in more detail for those of you that are interested in learning about why I have implemented these. Guideline number 1, if I get pissed off or upset, angry, or some other intense emotional reaction from something I see on social media, I will put my phone down and not come back to it for 24 hours. Or if I'm having a conversation, I'll leave it for 24 hours. If it's just something I looked at, I usually will just, okay, that's it. We're done with social media for the day. Guideline number 2, avoid engaging on social media when intoxicated. Doom scrolling, likes, those are kind of okay, but no commenting, no posting, that sort of thing. With caveats of like, it's fine if it's a direct message with someone I know. Guideline number 3, focus on positivity, optimism, and hopeful content. Try to avoid venting and other forms of posts that are asking other people to do emotional labor for me. If I need emotional labor from someone, I will reach out to someone I trust and love individually, someone who has consented to do emotional labor for me. Guideline number 4. Oh, this is the one I always space on. Yes, set time boundaries for social media. For me personally, I try to avoid social media on the weekends. That is my off time. I work really hard during the week. I have a lot of screen time during the week. Weekends are for me to read books, go outside, play in nature, hang out with my friends, and build projects. Okay, so let's go through these guidelines in a little bit more detail. So, curly hair gets a little wild. Fingers got caught. Okay, so guideline number 1, posting, stepping away from our phones if we get upset. For me personally, I have found that I am a much more effective communicator when I'm not operating from a place of anger or being pissed off. And it's not to say that those emotions aren't valuable. We can learn from them, especially when we ask ourselves, why am I pissed off? But I think it's really important to approach difficult conversations from kindness and openness. And I'm much more effective if I give myself some time to cool off. Number 2, avoiding social media when you're intoxicated. I just found that when I'm intoxicated, it's easier for me to get triggered. It's easier for me to have a really intense negative emotional reaction. And social media just stops being fun at that point, and it's just addicting, like addicted to the outrage and like, So like, I mean, again, these are guidelines. Sometimes I'll post something silly when I'm a little bit intoxicated, but in general, I found that it's way better for me to bug my friends directly and just avoid social media when intoxicated. Number 3, focus on positivity. Okay, so this might sound a little bit woo-woo, and it's like, I'm not asking you not to not to feel negative emotions. Again, those are valuable emotions, they're valid emotions, and we need to give space for those emotions. But I think what I've learned for myself is that social media is not a helpful platform for those types of emotions, because it is so easy and quick to react in a way that eliminates the humanity of the other person. The other thing that I found too is, like, if I'm pissed off and I post something, I'm often asking a bunch of strangers to do emotional labor for me. As someone who's had to do a lot of unsolicited emotional labor throughout my career, I'm very aware that there should be a consent process in doing emotional labor. Like with friends, it's a back and forth, right? And often we might have friends where we feel the burden of emotional labor is on us, and that doesn't feel very good, right? Social media is kind of the same way. If we post something negative, we're often asking for people to do emotional labor for us. And again, guidelines, not all of the time. I'm not trying to make judgments or tell people what to post or what not to post. All I'm saying is, let's be aware of what we are asking of other people when we post something. For me personally, what I would like to ask from other people when I post something is to be open-minded, to learn something, to challenge yourself. And I also personally love to be challenged in ways that are kind and compassionate. Yeah. Okay, we'll leave it there. Guideline number 3. And guideline number 4, setting boundaries, time boundaries for ourselves with social media. This has been a huge challenge for me as someone who can be very obsessive about the job that I do. This was a boundary that I've learned over the years as I have gotten burned out time and time again. And I realized that social media can be a part of that burnout, especially when it comes to our mental and emotional well-being. So for me, it's really, really helpful to step away from social media and to focus on interpersonal relationships with the people that I have around me in the physical world. It's not to say it's not that I don't value the relationships I have on social media. I absolutely do. I love this community. I love how kind and curious and excited y'all are. I love the things that you make. I love your questions. And I also realize that it's a different form of engagement, right? And for me to show up and be the best person that I can be and to answer your questions and to ask good questions of you, it's really helpful for me to do other things for a while. Yeah. Okay. I feel like that's good enough. I will leave it there. I hope that these are helpful for you. At the end of the day, it's all about asking ourselves why we're doing the things that we're doing. What are we trying to get out of these platforms? How are these platforms making us feel? And just kind of being brutally honest with ourselves. And also note that, like, it's okay if it takes time. I've messed up as I've tried to implement these guidelines. It's also why I call them guidelines and not rules, because it's a framework, right? It's not a rigid, set in stone, you must follow these all of the time. It's not realistic. So acting with kindness and forgiveness towards myself by calling them guidelines. So yeah, little baby steps, figure out what works for you, what makes you feel good, and just kind of go from there. Happy to provide more context as well if it's helpful. Okay, thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of my community. I really, truly value and appreciate you. Go forth and have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye!